Here we have a Chevrolet Express van, model year 2010, with a 4.3 liter V6. This is a used car that was recently sold, and the customer is complaining about a nuisance check engine light. And there, and checking the fault codes, it's indicating a problem with the throttle position sensor. And the throttle position sensor is part of the throttle body. And it was also believed that this might have been a contributor to the correlation between the pedal position sensor and the throttle position sensor. So the customer has requested that these be replaced. So here the used car lot is going to replace these under warranty. We purchased these from Advanced Auto Parts, and they're very reasonably priced. Obviously these are the original ones. We're going to install the new ones. Okay, here we see our new throttle position sensor, and conceivably this could be done on the vehicle, but why? 4 bolts are all that hold the throttle body there to the intake manifold, with obviously the fresh air duct coming from the air cleaner. So this is easily removed. Probably the more difficult aspect is making sure that I have the clip pulled back to properly unplug the connector. Here we see the servo motor, internal gear train, and our throttle position sensor. Now here on the bench I can just simply snap my clips loose. Some kits actually come with new clips. So I guess if you drop a clip in the engine compartment, you don't have to worry, they gave you brand new ones. But I'm not going to have to worry about that here on the bench, am I? Okay, here we have the 6 clips. We just carefully, very careful not to damage, popped it off there with our screwdriver, and now I just simply remove the throttle position sensor. Now obviously there's a gasket seal there that's held by the spring tension of the clips, and I want to try to avoid getting any debris here within the mechanism. Here we see our servo motor, and it's driving the gear train, and here we see the feedback from our throttle position sensor. The beauty of it being out here on the bench is I'm going to be very easy to carefully line it up and put it together. Okay, here I'm going to go ahead and assemble the new throttle position sensor, and you'll notice with the throttle body off in my hand, and of course obviously I took this opportunity to clean the throttle body. One thing that when cleaning these throttle bodies, be careful, because I don't want to get too crazy with the volatile solvents, because I certainly want to keep the solvents and material out of the gear train section, motor section, and the throttle position sensor section. Now this is obviously going to be sealed carefully with the gasket, and I'm sure they have some type of seal there on the shaft, but still, you know, let's keep material and solvents out. Make sure the gasket is aligned correctly very easily, so I can actually just carefully just put this on there without any trouble. We want to make sure that I've got my 2 electrical connections lined up, and there we go, and here she goes. I'm going to go ahead and let the throttle close and remove this, and let's see, yep, the throttle position sensor stayed right in that place. Okay, that's no problem. So now I can carefully put it back on there without having to hold the throttle. If it doesn't want to quite line up, I can simply feather the throttle a little bit. Go back to the full throttle position, and sure enough, no problems. So carefully line it up. Indexes without any trouble, lays down on the gasket. Now I can use the old clips, but no, I don't want to do that. Let's use our brand new clips. So here we have 6 brand new clips, and we'll go ahead and carefully snap those on. Okay, now what's the best method of putting these clips on? Now what I did is I used a little bit of silicone spray to just simply lubricate the aluminum housing, and it'd be nice if you could kind of just press them on, but they don't want to press so well. So what I'm doing is I'm just very gently with the hammer punch them right down. These are the new clips. Now obviously when you put them on, put them about 180 degrees away first, so it holds this down. But it's going to hold this cover down against its gasket with considerable force and keep material there out of the gear train, keep it nicely sealed. So obviously don't get carried away with the hammer, and this would be extremely difficult to do on the vehicle. I would say that it would be kind of impractical to try and do this on the vehicle. There we go. Now there's all of our clips, nicely seated. The throttle body is ready to install on the vehicle. Okay, what we found is it's much easier just to remove the air cleaner assembly. We're going to put it right back. A couple of 10mm bolts and the connection for the airflow meter, all that's required. And that gives you plenty of room to put that throttle body back and make sure the gasket's aligned. You want to make sure that that green gasket, that O-ring, is in position properly there as you get ready to put the throttle body back. And there I see the brass inserts for the 4 10mm bolts. Okay, there we have the throttle body carefully installed there on top of the intake manifold. And I had stated earlier that conceivably you could replace the throttle position sensor on the vehicle. I go ahead and retract that statement. It would be next to impossible. Only 4 10mm bolts hold that throttle body to the intake manifold, and actually removing the whole air cleaner assembly and the snorkel, the rubber boot coming there to the top of it, is absolutely necessary, and that gives you plenty of room to work. No problem. Make sure that you don't displace the green O-ring there on the intake manifold that seals the throttle body. We're all back together and ready to put this dog box back on. This is actually a work van, and I can't remove the dog box because I can't put the seats back all the way because of the barrier just behind the seats. Okay, here we see the new pedal position sensor. This came from Advanced Auto Parts, very reasonably priced. And hey, there's only one bolt holding it in. Mistakenly removed the old one by removing the 4 10mm nuts and leaving the bracket, but that was unnecessary. They included a new bracket. Now it's a little tricky. Just slide it in. Poof. One bolt holds it in. Okay, here we see the accelerator pedal position sensor installed. All inclusive. Bracket, sensor, pedal, all is in assembly. Held with one bolt. A little tricky getting the bracket in at the bottom. Help with just a little bit of lube. Obviously a one movement operation there on the assembly line. And of course remember, on the GM style connector, I got to pull that violet retainer back, and as I do so it lifts the connector right off.